First of all, Miriam Zeck, our water board representative. Thank you. We're going to have two presentations. We're basically going to do 2014, the year in review for the environmental cleanup program at Treasure Island. Mr. Clark and I will be doing that together. Then we're going to take a 15-minute break or so if we're on schedule, or we can adjust as we need to. And then we're going to talk about the planned work in 2015. We've got a lot planned. So we're basically doing a look back last year and then a look ahead to the next year. All right, Dave, you have a microphone? Good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next. Okay, so Dave and I will be going back and forth here. First of all, we're going to talk about the status of the major sites. We call them, this is the acronym CERCLA sites. Basically, it follows a law that's known to many of you as the Superfund law. It's a federal law, and it governs our environmental cleanup program because we're a federal agency. And so we follow CERCLA, and so we're going to go through the list of our sites. Our CERCLA sites on Treasure Island, at least, are given numbers. So, for instance, the residential neighborhood is Site 12, the firefighting training school is Site 6, our major groundwater site where the dry cleaning plant used to be is Site 24, and so on. And then we're also going to go and review the progress that we've made in the radiological program. And as you know, we have found low-level radiological objects on Treasure Island, and we have a radiological program that deals with researching it, investigating it, doing sampling, and then ultimately removing, cleaning up those sites. And then some key accomplishments in 2014 in general that will show you not only the environmental cleanup accomplishments, but some of the accomplishments moving towards the ultimate goal, which is to clean up the property, to certify it with the state of California and the city of San Francisco's blessing, and then ultimately to transfer property. We're getting very close to being able to transfer another part of the island to the city of San Francisco, which is the Navy's ultimate goal. Okay, so status of CERCLA sites. We've got 13 sites that have been closed, and we added one more, Site 33, in this year. Dave, if you could point to that. Site 33 is the water line replacement area. Okay, and it's just south of Site 24, the groundwater site. Okay, so that was our major accomplishment in closing out sites. We closed out one more site. Now we still have 8 open sites on Treasure Island, but we're getting to be a pretty mature program in CERCLA. CERCLA has different steps where you do investigation, like remedial investigations. Then you follow it up with a feasibility study. That's just a fancy term for looking at all of the options as to how to clean up what you found in the investigations. Then after you look at all the options and sort it out, you go to a proposed plan, which is where the Navy recommends to the community and to the regulators and to the city which one of those options we think are the best. We call them cleanup alternatives. And then the record of decision, just a fancy term for making the decision, and that's becomes a legal document where the Navy and the state of California agree and commit to a certain cleanup solution to a specific site. So you can see here, out of the 8, 5 of the 8 are in this phase, very far along, these sites. 2 of the 8 are in the proposed plan stage. Now, I say this because the proposed plan stage happens fairly quickly. It involves a public meeting, and then it involves issuing at the end a draft record of decision. Site 24 is our groundwater site. We're entering the proposed plan stage. Danielle is the project manager for Site 24. Danielle and Dave and I have done a lot of work on this, and you will be seeing very early in 2015, you will be seeing a formal proposed plan issued to the community and to the whole community, and then we're going to have a formal proposed plan meeting on Site 24. On Site 32, we're going to have, again, we're further along on that, and we'll be able to go quickly into a record of decision after we finish our radiological investigations on Site 32. And then we have one that is taking longer than the rest, and this is for good reason. It's more complex, and That's the feasibility study for the TI residential neighborhood, also known as Site 12. And we just completed a major milestone this year. Was Bryce is with us, and Bryce headed up a data gaps investigation to go out and do the final phase of sampling so that we have enough data to really be able to estimate the areas for cleanup, which will involve, in large measure, as many of you know, digging it up. We call it excavation. Digging up the contaminants and then transporting them off the island. That's probably going to be the primary method of ultimately cleaning up Site 12. I have to say probably because not allowed to say that until we have, with certainty until we have a record of decision. But so that's where we're at on Site 12. Now that's on the CERCLA side. There's another side of Site 12 that we're familiar with, the radiological side. We'll talk a little bit about that in a later slide. On Yorba Buena Island, not to leave out YBI because we even have a RAB member who lives on YBI, there are 3 open sites there, 8, 11, and 29 that Dave is pointing to. And the Navy will eventually get with Caltrans and have to partner up and figure out what we're going to do on these 3 sites. They're still open sites. Right now we have limited access to them. In fact, a couple of them are really within the shadow of the newly constructed bridge and the off-ramps that are being built and so forth. And you may know this, Caltrans in that, can you show them that area of the island, especially where they've taken over for storage and construction purposes. They've taken over the area of those sites essentially to do this major project of building the New Bay Bridge. When they're done with that, I believe 2016?
They should be demobilized around late 2016, correct?
Okay. And then we'll be able to, before then we'll begin talking with Caltrans, but then the program will take up these 3 sites later on as soon as we can with Caltrans. We will not leave YBI without cleanup solutions. Okay, next slide. Okay. Here's just a representation of the open CERCLA sites again. There are 8 of them. So Site 27, we've made some major progress on this year. As you know, we're in the midst of finalizing the completion report for the remedy that we've already put into place at Site 27. And Bryce has been working on with the marina folks, including Mr. Pilgrim, and some of the nitty-gritty details for the controls that are going to be placed in the marina and the harbor. Site 21 is very far along, right? We've already done a land use control inspection there. And Site 24 is our groundwater site. We changed the boundary of the site this year, freeing up some of the land that didn't need to be in the IR site. And we got regulator concurrence to do that, and the city was pleased with that. And we're about ready, probably early February, able to issue a proposed plan?
Probably late February.
Okay, okay. It's always smart to give yourself a little more time. Sometime in February, we'll be able to tell everybody what our recommended way forward is, and we'll have a formal meeting dedicated to that in February. And then we'll do a recap of that at the RAB meeting, in case you don't come to the proposed plan meeting. And then Site 32, Dave, I'd say we're very close there.
Correct. There's some radiological investigation data which we're going through. However, we are close to the record of decision. We already had our public meeting some time ago, and it would be a no action record of decision.
Yeah, because all of the cleanup has been completed.
Correct, years ago.
And Site 6, as you know, Site 6, we are on the verge of, actually what happened is, on the 8th, yesterday, I signed the record of decision for Site 6, and I have sent that off to Medisunga, and so Department of Toxic Substances Control will consider it, and either sign it or reject it and bring it back to me, and then it will go to the Water Board, and then Miriam Zeck will meet with the Water Board representation up to the Executive Officer, Bruce Wolf, and he'll have the opportunity to either recommend changes or to sign and finalize the record of decision for Site 6. Site 12, we've done a lot of work, as you know, but there's a lot more to do. We did a data gaps investigation that concentrated on in this area and this area, amongst others. We did a lot of work finishing up in Bigelow Court. And in Bigelow Court, we found 3 low-level radiological objects and removed them. And we also cleaned up the remaining lead and PCB contamination that was left. We've done a lot of planning that will mean we're going to go out into the field in Site 12 in the solid waste disposal areas, which are here and here and here. And we will move forward on Site 12, and we'll talk about 2015 in the next presentation.
Correct.
Okay, and then Site 30 and 31?
Yeah, 30 and 31. 31, of course, was the subject of remedial action that more or less completed the field work recently with the site restoration. Site 30 was also subject of a very early record of decision, which resulted in some capping of the area in land use controls where we take a look at the cap and the integrity of the building itself long term. So both of those, Site 30 has a signed rod, 31 does as well. Both of them, of course, were impacted, radiologically impacted, in the supplemental technical memorandum. So there is ongoing radiological investigation on both of those sites.
Yeah, next. Okay. Okay, so some of our accomplishments come in the form of documents. And you may know this, that there's really 2 major categories of things that the Navy does on this program. We use a lot of paper and a lot of ink because we generate a lot of documents in white binders. And Becky Held will soon be the recipient of those, because if you're a Rab member, you get a copy of each of our documents. That's part of the membership package. So we do documents, which basically hold data and describe the program and recommend, based on the data, recommend what the Navy would like to do to clean up a site. Then the other side, of course, is the very visible side of it, the field work, when we do digging, when we do injections underground in the groundwater, when we build caps over things like that. And you've seen a little bit of both in 2014, and you'll see more documents, but even more field work in 2015 that we'll get into in the second presentation.